Navigating mixed signals with Stoic wisdom. Mixed signals can be an emotionally exhausting experience. One moment, everything seems perfect, and the next, the signals you receive leave you feeling confused, unsure, and uncertain about his intentions. It's easy to get trapped in the emotional roller coaster of fluctuating attention, ambiguous actions, and fleeting gestures. You might find yourself wondering, what does he really want? Or am I wasting my time trying to figure this out? In moments like these, Stoicism provides a powerful framework for emotional clarity and resilience. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and to accept what we cannot, which allows us to navigate uncertainty without being swept away by our emotions. When faced with mixed signals, the Stoic approach empowers you to maintain emotional equilibrium, uphold your self-respect, and cultivate an inner peace that doesn't depend on external factors. By applying the principles of Stoic thought, you can transform the confusion of mixed signals into an opportunity for personal growth, self-reflection, and clarity. Below, you will find 10 Stoic-inspired strategies to help you handle mixed signals from a guy with wisdom, patience, and confidence. 1. Clarify what you can control. Your responses, not his actions. When you are receiving mixed signals, it is natural to become fixated on trying to understand why he is behaving the way he is. You may spend endless hours replaying conversations in your mind, analyzing his words and actions for hidden meanings. However, as Epictetus, one of the foremost Stoic philosophers, teaches, we cannot control the actions of others. We can only control our responses. This is a fundamental truth that will help you regain a sense of stability when faced with uncertainty. The more you focus on his behavior and try to control the outcome, the more you risk losing your inner peace. Instead, step back and remind yourself that his actions, whether they are consistent or not, are beyond your control. What you can control, however, is how you choose to respond to them. In practical terms, this means acknowledging your emotional reactions without allowing them to dictate your actions. If his mixed signals upset you, recognize those feelings, but don't let them overpower your judgment. Take a moment to breathe, reflect, and ask yourself, what would my best self do in this situation? And how can I maintain my sense of dignity and self-respect, regardless of his behavior? When you recognize that your emotional well-being is not dependent on his actions, you can step into a place of power where your responses are deliberate, thoughtful, and grounded in your values, not in his unpredictability. This mindset shift allows you to face mixed signals with a calm and balanced approach, reinforcing your ability to stay in control of your emotional state. 2. Observe his behavior, not his words. It's easy to become confused by the words a person says, especially when those words don't seem to align with their actions. The Stoics remind us that words are cheap. Actions speak louder. In fact, Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoic emperors, emphasized the importance of focusing on what people do rather than what they say. People may speak with great intention, but it is their actions that reveal their true character. In the case of mixed signals, it's crucial to focus on his behavior over time. Does he consistently follow through on plans? Does he communicate with you regularly? Or does his level of engagement fluctuate wildly? Does his behavior reflect interest and respect? Or does it suggest uncertainty or ambivalence? This process requires you to practice objective observation, free from emotional bias. Keep in mind that mixed signals may not necessarily mean he's interested, but unsure of how to proceed, or that he's simply not emotionally available. By observing the consistency or lack thereof in his behavior, you'll have a clearer idea of his emotional availability and intentions. Over time, patterns will emerge, allowing you to distinguish between fleeting moments of attention and genuine commitment. By focusing on behavior over words, you are engaging in a Stoic practice of discernment, separating external appearances from the true nature of things. You are no longer swayed by transient emotions or temporary confusion. Instead, you base your understanding on observable actions, creating a clearer, more accurate picture of the situation. 3. Cultivate emotional detachment. Emotional detachment does not mean becoming cold or indifferent to the feelings or experiences of others. It means cultivating the ability to remain grounded and unshaken by external events. The Stoics, including Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, taught that emotions are natural, but that we should not let them control our lives. Emotional detachment allows us to acknowledge our feelings without letting them govern our actions. When faced with mixed signals, it's easy to fall into a spiral of overthinking and emotional highs and lows. You might feel elated one moment when his attention is focused on you, only to feel disappointed and anxious the next when he pulls away. Emotional detachment allows you to step outside of this cycle. Rather than allowing the ups and downs to dictate your mood or self-worth, you can observe them with a sense of emotional neutrality. One way to cultivate emotional detachment is to reflect on the Stoic idea that all external events are beyond our control. His mixed signals, while painful or confusing, are ultimately outside of your influence. The only thing you can control is how you respond to them. Rather than allowing his inconsistent behavior to create emotional turmoil, you can choose to react with calmness and clarity. In practice, this means taking a step back whenever you feel overwhelmed or emotionally triggered. Breathe deeply, reframe the situation, and remind yourself of what you value most. By practicing emotional detachment, you retain your sense of self and avoid becoming a passive victim to the unpredictable nature of his behavior. 4th, set healthy boundaries, inspired by your self-respect. Another vital Stoic principle is living in accordance with your values. For the Stoics, virtue is not an abstract concept. It is the embodiment of living with integrity, wisdom, and self-respect. When you are faced with mixed signals, it's essential to protect your emotional well-being by setting boundaries that honor your values and self-worth. Setting boundaries might look like openly communicating your needs and expectations. If his mixed signals are causing confusion, it's important to express how this inconsistency affects you and what you need in order to feel respected. Boundary might also be taking a step back or even distancing yourself from someone who is not treating you with the emotional consistency and respect you deserve. Marcus Aurelius often spoke of the need to be true to oneself, despite the distractions and challenges posed by others. Remember that boundaries are an act of self-care, not an act of retaliation. They come from a place of wisdom, self-respect, and a commitment to your own well-being. By honoring your boundaries, you are ensuring that you stay aligned with your highest self, regardless of the unpredictability of his actions. 5. Communicate clearly and calmly. Clear, honest communication is one of the cornerstones of any healthy relationship. In the face of mixed signals, it's natural to want to have a conversation to clarify things, but the way in which you communicate can make a significant difference in how the conversation unfolds. The Stoics place great importance on speaking with clarity and purpose, free from emotional reactivity. In moments of confusion, it's tempting to approach the conversation with frustration or even anger. but this often leads to defensiveness and misunderstanding. Instead, choose to communicate with calmness, clarity, and respect. Express your feelings without blame, focusing on how his behavior is impacting you. Use I statements to avoid sounding accusatory. I feel unsure about where we stand when our communication patterns shift unexpectedly. By communicating in this way, you are practicing the Stoic principle of emotional neutrality, acknowledging your feelings without letting them dictate your actions. You also provide him with the opportunity to share his perspective and explain any underlying causes for his behavior. In doing so, you create the space for constructive dialogue and mutual understanding, two key ingredients in any healthy relationship. 6. Embrace the power of acceptance. Acceptance is a central tenet of Stoic thought. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we must accept what life presents to us, whether we find it pleasant or painful. When it comes to mixed signals, it's important to accept the situation as it is, rather than how you wish it would be. If his behavior remains inconsistent, or if his actions reveal that he's not as invested as you are, acceptance allows you to process the situation without unnecessary frustration. By accepting the reality of his feelings, you free yourself from the mental anguish of trying to change the unchangeable. Acceptance does not mean resigning yourself to passivity. Rather, it means choosing to act in alignment with reality, not illusion. You are free to choose your next step, but that step is based on a clear understanding of the situation, not on false hopes or wishful thinking. Conclusion. Finding peace amidst mixed signals. Navigating mixed signals is never easy, but by applying Stoic principles, you can face this challenge with grace, wisdom, and emotional resilience. Focus on what you can control, your responses, your boundaries, and your actions, and release the need to control or change him. By observing his behavior, cultivating emotional detachment, and communicating clearly, you ensure that your emotional well-being is protected, regardless of his signals. Remember,